got to tell you, I'm really excited to share this one with you. This was so much fun. A few weeks ago, I told you that I had a special gift for you this holiday. It's a few days early for Christmas. Over the history of my channel, I've had more requests for this than anything by far. I've had thousands upon thousands of requests asking for this video. I don't know what you'd call it. Some have called it a crossover. Some have called it a collab. Whatever you want to call it, it's a blast. Over the summer, I got to know this guy. When I was drowning in a quicksand of copyright claims and despair, this total legend reached out to me to offer help as, he'd been through my plight and then some. We became fast friends, and since then, we've spoken on the phone many times. We've had some great talks about music. And for today's interview, really, go down a rabbit hole of rock and roll with Rick Beato. From his early years to his extensive career, and along the way, I pick his brain and I ask him all the questions I've always been curious about in his musical journey, from his favorite records, favorite singers, to the one song that he hopes to hear before he dies. Pretty deep here. There's a lot of things in here I'm not sure anyone knows about him, and this is one I guarantee you're going to enjoy because he's just such a great guy. Let's get into it.
Oh man, I am so excited for this. It's been a long time coming. It is an honor to sit down with the man, the myth, the legend. And I know that's said very often, but it really means something at this point. Rick Beato, who is really my favorite YouTuber and many of yours. So it's an honor to sit down with you, Rick. You really are a legend.
Adam, it's an honor to sit down with you. Really appreciate it.
Well, I mean, we've gotten to know each other the last few months. I really am looking forward to talking to you today about you. First of all, I want to ask you, go back to the very beginning and find out, Rick, what was it for you? What was a moment that kicked open the door to your mind? Whether it was a song, somebody in your life, or a moment, kicked open the door to your mind and made you want to pursue music where you knew there was no plan B?
Well, I grew up with pretty musical family. My mom's side of the family, two of my aunts were music teachers, and my mom's brother was a bass player, and my mom's dad was an amateur guitar player. So we always had music on the weekends when we go to visit my mom's parents, and I was really fascinated with the guitar then. But it wasn't until I remember when the Beatles came out, because my sisters freaked out about the Beatles, and I remember Hey Jude when it came on the radio the first time. Here's a new one from the Beatles, and Paul's voice starts, and there was this little mini mart on the next block over from us, and there were some guys working outside. They had an AM radio playing, and I remember hearing Hey Jude through that for the first time, and that really is always stuck in my mind. But it wasn't until I was 9 years old, I took a test at my school called the Seashore Test, which is a music aptitude test. Right. And I scored really high on it. And people who scored the highest got to play instruments. And I started on the cello in fourth grade. So that would have been 1972. And I played the cello until sixth grade. Then I switched to the upright bass. Yeah. And I ended up playing that all the way through college, but it wasn't until I picked up the guitar summer of seventh grade. That was the real thing that got me 100% into music, where I never turned back. So,
what was the first song that you learned on guitar? The first couple that really, where you felt the power of that instrument?
Well, when I was first learning, I just had this Mel Bay guitar book, and I remember learning A minor and E minor, and I started realizing A minor, that's like this, like Angie, that's the first chord, and then all of a sudden, the first, you're learning all these open chords. I remember Heart of Gold, learning that, and once I learned all the open chords, I could figure out any songs. I just really, anything I heard, if it wasn't played with a capo, I could figure out pretty immediately. And once I got B minor and F, so I would say the summer after seventh grade, I probably learned, 100 songs or so, something like that, 200 songs, a lot. anything that was going on then. So this would be 1976. So it was like, Frampton Comes Alive. The first Boston record was big. Night at the Opera had come out the year before. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? It was, this is pre-Van Halen, pre-Police, pre all the stuff that kind of happened a little bit, in 78. Everything that had come out, Jimi Hendrix, anything that I heard that had guitar in it, I was figuring it out. And of course, the Beatles and the Stones and Zeppelin songs I was obsessed with.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. I think everybody has that one song that you heard, and it may not be the first song that you ever heard, but it's a song that you hear that made you feel like you were busting out of prison, like true freedom, like music, that power of music. For me, it was Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen. Like, I don't know what it was growing up in a small town in Idaho, hearing those lyrics, and I just felt like that's triumph. This is the power of that music. It just made me feel 10 feet tall and invincible. What was that song for you?
I would say probably I Feel Fine by the Beatles. That was a song that really struck me when I heard it. I'm in love with her and I feel fine. And I didn't know why. It was a John Lennon song, but it was, it had in retrospect, this psychedelic sound to it that just caught my ear, and I just couldn't get enough of it. I just love the song. Baby's good to me, I love the melody. I love the lyrics. Even though I didn't know what they meant at the time, really, I was just love the sound of it. And I just love the sound of the middle period Beatles, Rubber Soul, Revolver, and then Exile on Main Street. Dark Side of the Moon. These records were, it's just stuff that I'd listen to all the time. And of course, Peter Frampton, who I'm a massive fan of, Frampton Comes Alive, since that was the first year I played guitar. It's kind of that when I put those things together. But the early songs that I heard, the Beatles and the Stones, those were the things that really got me into music heavily.
Well, I know I've read about you that your sisters had a big influence on you getting into the music of the 60s.
Yes. Yeah, they're my oldest sister is 9 years older than me, and she's the biggest Beatles fan. She's really a fan of a lot of different styles of music. And so I've got two sisters and then three older brothers. So, and everyone listened to different music in the house. So I was getting hit with everything, including my mom listening to classical music and my dad listening to jazz all the time. So it was just, nonstop different influences. And then of course you'd kind of grab the things that you feel are your own, which were more the things that were coming out at that time. Because it was even though all my siblings were kind of into the same stuff. And my younger brother, John, who's 4 years younger than me, he plays guitar, and we really have very similar tastes in music. We like pretty much all the same stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you came from a big family. You're the number 6 out of 7 kids. You've always given great tributes to your family, especially your parents. The story about your dad, 2 holes in one, right?
I know. But
tell us about that really quick, because I thought that was pretty cool.
He came home from playing golf one day, and he puts his scorecard on the fridge. Walking by it, and I look at it, and you circle, if you get a hole in one, you circle them. A lot of people circle birdies and stuff like that, but I looked at it and says, "Did you get 2 holes in one?" He's, "Yeah." So, what? Like 2 holes apart, 10 minutes apart with the same ball. The odds are 67 million to 1 that would happen. And he was in the New York Times. He was in all the golf magazines. People were calling our house, and it was crazy. And the third par 3, he said that he hit about 2 feet from the hole in that one. So he almost had 3.
Wow. That would have been a record. World record.
I don't think anyone's ever had 3. from what I know.
Yeah. So your father, I mean, loving jazz, was he at all into rock and roll, or was it purely jazz?
Just jazz.
Jazz,
big band jazz, bebop. Those were the things he was into. I mean, they were, because of their age, though. My dad was born 1919, my mom 1925. So their musical tastes were established by the time that rock and roll really hit. You know, their musical tastes are really from the 30s and 40s. So.
Who was his favorite?
My dad, he loved, oh my gosh, he loved people like Oscar Peterson, Joe Pass, those were two of his favorites. And he listened to bebop. He loved Brazilian music. Antonio Carlos Jobim. There were tunes like, there's a tune Wave that he wrote that my dad, any version he could find of the tune, whatever jazz musician played it, my dad would buy the record just to hear it. But he would listen to music all day.
And your mom was classical.
She loved classical music, and if the operas were on, she'd always say, "Rick, come here and watch the opera with me," and I'd go sit there. And whatever concerts were on, you know, the public broadcasting station, WXXI up in Rochester, where I'm from, we would be, my mom would have me come in, and I'd sit there and I'd listen to it with her. So.
Wow.
And she would drive us to our guitar lessons, my brother John and I. That was a big thing too. And she would wait in the car or wait in the store while we took our lesson each week.
A rich musical heritage. I mean, it seems like you got so much from different members of your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's having a big family like that is it's the only thing that I know, Adam, so
yeah, right.
You know, it's like I don't know anything else.
I came from a big family as well, so I understand that. But you started playing really by ear, right? Guitar. So when did you get to a point where you knew this is what you wanted to do? Was there anything else, any other career path that you were looking at, or is this the only option?
This is the only thing I ever wanted to do. It actually makes it really easy when I look at my son Dylan, who's a senior in high school, and he doesn't know what he wants to do. And I just always knew this is the thing I was passionate about, and I've been doing it ever since 7th grade, you know, at least the guitar part of it. And I never looked back. I never entertained anything else.
I love that. Did your parents, what did they think about that? They've always supportive of that?
My parents loved that I was a musician. It's funny because all my friends in school and college, none of their parents wanted them to go to music school. And I was like, what are you talking about? And it's like, oh my God, my parents want me to change the business, or they want me to do this, or go into the family business. Don't your parents? I said, no, my parents love that I'm in music.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you went to Ithaca College and you got a BA in classical bass and then a master's in jazz guitar from the New England Conservatory of Music. And, you've lectured at so many places like Berkeley and taught jazz. I mean, I just play a professor. You're an actual professor.
You're a real professor.
I play one on TV. But I mean, to be able to, I mean, that's kind of one of those pinch me moments. And I think that you and I have had a few doing what we do, but it's got to be a pinch me moment for you when you were at Berkeley, lecturing at Berkeley,
Just to have any of the things that have happened is amazing to me. I mean, I just feel so fortunate that I found a purpose in life that I'm passionate about. I mean, all the other things, lecturing at Berkeley, interviewing David Gilmour or Brian May, or, those are incredible things. And I just go kind of back to the basics, that I'm so glad that I have music, and that's been my passion my entire life. And the more that I see young people, and that in the difficulty so many people have with finding the thing that they're really interested in. I just feel so fortunate that I found that.
Well, I wanted to ask you about your band Billionaire, formed in '97, and you've done a lot of different things. You played on a lot of different records and such, but you're working on a new record, but you put out The Goodnight Sky and signed to Republic and put out Ascension in 2000. Tell me about the forming of Billionaire and what you kind of foresaw of getting into music. What did you want to sound like, or what were you going for? Or you probably just wanted to sound like yourself, but I mean, your influences and everything. What was that path with Billionaire?
When we started the band, the singer Mark and I started writing songs together in the fall of '96, and we had a concept for what we wanted to do. We wanted to do kind of psychedelic rock with Marshalls and Les Pauls, with some shoegaze elements like Swerve Driver, My Bloody Valentine, that kind of sonic guitars with effects and stuff, and then but also kind of riffs and things like that. So we wrote 9 songs and then found a bass player that Mark had played in a band with, Walter, and then this drummer Darren Dodd I knew and Mark knew, and we did one rehearsal and that was the band. We played a gig like 3 days later or the next weekend or so, and then we started playing, and we toured around all through the Southeast. We got a lot of interest from record labels, really mainly because we had made this blue demo tape. This is back when we still sent cassettes out to record labels. So we made this 5-song tape that we had recorded in a full studio, and people really took to the demos. But then we went back in and we decided, let's finish a whole record. So over the course of about a year, it took us to save up enough money to make the record, and we finished it in April of 1998. That was The Goodnight Sky, and put that out, and then we got signed. Within a couple months after that, we did a bunch of showcases, and then we got signed to London Sire first, and then Republic bought out London Sire.
That's right.
Yeah, in one of the many consolidations of the music business, in the beginning of all the consolidations of the music business now.
One of my favorite ever Sire Records is, I love the logo and all the great history that came from Seymour Stein and all that. That's amazing.
I remember meeting Seymour, when we first went to London Sire and see all the gold records up in the offices. That was cool. I mean, that to me, going into all the old record labels back starting in the early '90s through the early 2000s, and there were all these legendary A&R people that were still working for the labels, and it was a really exciting time. That was. I mean, who knew what was going to happen with the music business within a couple of years, I
know. Miss those old personalities like Seymour Stein, Ahmet Ertegun, and all those great record men that, that Frank Zappa, when he used to say, the old guys with their cigar, I don't know, maybe there's something here,
We'll try it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so much history there. And I mean, Sire had such a run with all these acts, with the Smiths and Depeche Mode and Erasure. And do you remember those compilations they used to put out, the Just Say Yes and Just Say Yo, Just Say Mao, and Ocean Blue? That's how I found those guys. It was such a great little compilation you buy, and you get all these bands that you knew, but 4 or 5 bands that you didn't know, like Ride and other shoegaze stuff, like you said. That's how I found Kitchens of Distinction. Have you ever heard of that band?
I think back to that time period, and I really wish that I had a camera, because all the people that I met, Adam, back then, if I could have just recorded some of the stories that I heard. I mean, I remember back when going into people's offices in 1991, because I had signed my first publishing deal with Polygram in 1992. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to people's offices in 91 when I was in New York. I had friends that worked at labels, and when Nevermind came out and people just freaking out about the record, and I'd seen the video on MTV, and it was just so exciting, just an incredibly exciting time in music. And there's just, I've struggled to find any parallels in the last, nowadays it just, there's nothing that resembles that as far as the ability of any artist nowadays. It's almost impossible to have a groundswell behind a particular style of music, whether it's grunge or new metal or synth pop or shoegaze, any type of music. It's very difficult to get large groups of people to embrace thrash metal or something. There's just nothing. Right. There's no new genre that people are flocking to, and that's a really difficult thing for me to see here.
It's because we've become a niche society, right?
That's right.
Everything is niche. Everybody has their own experience with. The only thing that I can really think of, which just happened a couple of days ago, is like Stranger Things, where
yes.
something like that comes out and everybody's talking about it, everybody sees it. I watch it with my kids and they're excited and we're excited together. But that is few and far between, whereas that used to be our minute-to-minute experience in the 80s. And I'm a younger guy, so I barely remember the 70s. But
well, that's interesting. Stranger Things is actually a great example of it. When Stranger Things comes out, my whole family, me excluded, they all are watching. I never started Stranger Things, or I haven't started it yet, and so I never can sit there with them because they're always on the current. Yeah. So eventually I will go back and binge watch it all.
Yeah, and I love how they use the music in this season. They've used Tiffany. I think we're alone now. And it is a song that definitely takes you right back to 1988, late 1987, 1988. But the power of music, and that's why Stranger Things has done so well, is because they've used so much great music. We both talked about how Kate Bush had really tens of millions of streams of Running Up That Hill, and then it turned into billions of streams because of that use. You couldn't have planned a better use.
Yeah, that's a great example of something that has a mass cultural moment. That song at that time, I think, more than a Taylor Swift even, because Taylor Swift is still constrained by algorithmic bubbles. I know people that have never heard of Taylor Swift or don't know any of her music, but when Kate Bush, when that song became popular again, everyone was talking about it.
But I do want to ask you, do you think we'll ever have a moment like Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit again? Do you think we'll ever have that moment like that?
No, I think, and the reason is not that no one could write music like that anymore, even though I think that nobody could write music like that anymore. Kurt Cobain had such a unique sense of melody, sense of lyrics, sense of style, but that was pre-internet music. The way that record changed the music business, changed radio. Stations became modern rock stations overnight. They changed their format from classic rock to these modern rock stations. I mean, because of Nirvana, they essentially killed most of the 80s metal bands, you know, with the exception of ones that were releasing records in the, you know, in the early 90s that were still big, like Guns N' Roses and
Def Leppard.
Exactly. So
Joe Elliott wouldn't let me forget that when I was interviewing about it. So what did you think when Nirvana hit? And he's like, "Oh, nothing changed for me. Nothing changed." You know, I was like, well, it changed a little bit, you know, because
it's funny. Billionaire, my old band, opened for Def Leppard for about a week or so back in 1999. And we played, our first gig with them was in a hockey arena in, I think it was Erie, Pennsylvania. And my guitar cable, the stage was so big that I went to go to the front of the stage, and I remember my guitar cable, I didn't have a wireless or anything, and got pulled right to the end. It was like, oh, and I almost like pulled the guitar out of my hands. I wasn't expecting it to do that. I was trying to play. I was like, oh, it's pretty funny, but they were so cool. Oh my God, I loved it. And Joe Elliott came in and introduced, you know, said hello to us before the show and was totally cool. The whole band was so nice. They were great guys.
Yeah, I love Def Leppard.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the greats. Actually, this is the part of the interview that I was most looking forward to.
Okay.
Pick your brain on some things outside of guitar. What 5 songs move you the most? What if you had to think just on the spot, like what are 5 songs that truly just move you? And I'm sure it would change tomorrow, but
oh geez.
It's like that question that Stephen Colbert always asks. I think it's a good question where he says, if you could only listen to one song for the rest of your life, and that's all you could listen to, what would it be?
Day in the Life, the Beatles.
The news today, oh boy.
I always say Angie, the Rolling Stones. I can listen to that song forever. Lines on My Face, Peter Frampton. Love that song.
On my head from that one thing she said.
Send Her My Love, Journey.
Oh, that's a great song.
Bohemian Rhapsody. I mean, I think about songs that are long that if I have to listen, you know, I love Hitch a Ride, Boston.
There's night in New York City, smoke like
Oh, Rick, that's my favorite Boston song.
Love that song. I can listen to that forever.
It's so good. The guitar solos.
Everything. The guitar solo, the verse melody, it's amazing.
Brad Delp, his voice is so melancholy on that song.
Yeah.
But then he rises right up, you know, right after you hear that melancholy, he goes right up and he's back to, you know, Brad Delp to punch you in the face with that great vocal. But I agree. Such an incredible song. How is Boston not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I have no idea. Maybe we need to start a movement here.
We absolutely should. I like that blows my mind. And when they say, well, they only have one big album, that's not true. They had 3 big albums.
That's right. They did.
And they had as many big albums as Guns N' Roses had.
Yeah, I agree. Yes,
you know?
I agree. You know, or even more current songs, Check My Brain by Alice in Chains from Black Gives Way to Blue, which is post Lane Staley. That was one of the best comeback records ever. Just like Back in Black was for, you know, when you lose a singer, it's almost impossible to come back.
Yeah.
And
love it.
And those, I mean, I can pretty much listen to any AC/DC song.
Yeah.
Pick one. I don't, you know.
I did a little experiment because everybody's asked for it for so long. Just people in my audience said, what are your 10 favorite classic rock songs or 10 favorite songs? And I I had to I had to say, okay, I'll say my 10 favorite classic rock songs. Because if I do my 10 favorite, then you've got Sinatra in there and you've got all these other types of things going on. So, I mean, Born to Run is my favorite song of all time. It'll just always be, just because of that connection, the freedom I felt. But Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, I think, is a perfect song.
Get a table near the stream in our old familiar place.
Amazing song.
Such an epic song. I love the instrumental, going to the end. It's just beautiful. What Billy Joel does there. But 5 voices that blow your mind. Like, what are the 5 voices that you go, how?
Oh man.
Because I know how your favorite guitarists and all those kinds of things, but I'm always interested. I was always wanted to ask you about, vocalists.
Jeez. I love Steve Perry.
Yeah, me too.
I love Robert Plant, Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, Kurt Cobain, Eddie Vedder. I love all the grunge singers. So,
Yeah.
I love Mick Jagger, Lennon, McCartney,
Of course.
Little Richard.
Oh yeah.
I love Michael Jackson.
Yes, that's awesome.
Man,
Steve Perry is always my favorite rock vocalist of all time, just because, I mean, Robert Plant is there and Freddie Mercury is there and everything, but for me, it's always been Steve Perry. But man, as I've been listening to Boston the last few years, I've always loved Boston. Listen, but you know how you get into periods where you listen to a band a ton, and I'm like, gosh, Brad Delp on that first record, I just think is untouchable on that debut record. I don't know if anybody. If you're picking just 3 or 4 songs, I don't know if anybody ever got to that resonance. A few did, but it's tough.
yeah. I mean, as far as people too that are just, you have your singers like Freddie Mercury that are just the insanely great vocalist, but everyone knows that he's that. But Brad Delp is a person that should be talked about. And they should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Boston should, and that's really.
Well, I'm in. Let's start a movement, man.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the greatest debut records of all time.
Yeah,
the first Boston record.
It's in my top 5 favorite albums of all time.
I can listen to that record. I can put it on anytime. I remember the day it came out. My brother Lou bought it, and I was like, "What is that?" Listening to it in his room on his big stereo, listened to it for hours and hours and hours.
So, what about females, or even people like Sinatra and Roy Orbison and
Oh my God,
Karen Carpenter?
I love Karen Carpenter. She's just so talented.
Rainy days and wonders always get me down.
I love Tori Amos.
Years go by, will I still be waiting for somebody else?
One that I love that a lot of people don't know is Harriet Wheeler, the Sundays. Have you ever heard of the Sundays?
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I love Harriet Wheeler's voice.
My hands write the story.
And Eva Cassidy. too.
Eva Cassidy's amazing.
And the songbirds keep singing.
One of my favorite records of the '90s is Sarah McLachlan's "Fumbling Towards Ecstasy."
I know.
"Possession"
So
has
good.
one of the greatest the first two songs there, and "Wait" is a song on there.
Oh, I love Wait. Are
That
you
song
kidding
is
me?
amazing, and
So great. Yep, I agree.
I bought that record. I was driving from Denver to New York City, and this is in 1990. When would that have been? 94?
93.
1994, I think it was.
Yeah.
93, something like that.
94 is when it.
And I remember hearing "Possession" on the radio, and I was like, what is that? And I pulled over to the first mall I could find to buy the cassette. And I listened to that thing for 30 straight hours to New York City, listen to that entire record over and over and over.
Take your breath away, and if
It's one of the best produced records ever. It's got every song is great on it. Every part is great on it.
I remember showing it a couple of months ago to my son, showing him Possession and saying, listen to this vocal, Take Your Breath Away, that harmony there. And he just watching him go, oh my gosh, Dad, how did, it's just like that. I agree. It's incredible. Wait, that's my favorite song by her. That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that song. I think the melody is just haunting. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, Frank Sinatra, if push came to shove and I had to name an overall vocalist, it would be Sinatra. Just because
I'm 100% with you.
It's so funny. I got to tell you a quick story. So it was when we were in our old house. It was several years ago, but I was in the other room and I guess my wife was in a different room. I was in our bedroom and I was flipping through YouTube and I was listening to Sinatra, at the Sands and just different live performances they have on there. The Gal That Got Away and One for My Baby I was just, oh my gosh, he's amazing. I'm just not knowing that anybody, because I'm in my room by myself, not thinking anything of it, and I'm just going off. How does he do it? And my wife Leslie comes in. She just laughs and she's like, honey, I love you. You love music so much. You love Sinatra, that's for sure, But I was just going off because I watch him and I just think, nobody can sing sadness like Sinatra. Those saloon songs,
100%.
Perfection.
Amazing.
Well, let me ask you, if you could interview anyone in history, living or dead, who would it be? I mean, who is your all-time, I know this is an over-asked question, but I know the answer will be very interesting coming from you because you have so many heroes, and we both do, that have passed on. If you had one person that you could interview, who would it be? Or maybe two or three?
Johann Sebastian Bach, for sure.
Really?
No question about it. Absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
That's the, there's no interviews with him.
Of course, yeah.
So, I would love to have interviewed John Coltrane, Charlie Parker, John Lennon.
I was going to say Lennon's got to be in there.
Jimi Hendrix.
What do you think is the greatest decade for popular music, mainstream popular music? Because I know you and I's hearts are probably, your heart might be for the 90s, my heart's for the 80s, because that's when I grew up and really discovered this. But if push came to shove, I would say the 60s definitely were the greatest decade, in my opinion. But what is your take?
I would probably say the 60s, bleeding into the 70s. But then again, there's so many
variables, right?
Oh my God.
If you were going to talk about just albums, I would probably go 70s. But if you're talking top 40 mainstream, you go look at the top 40. I've done this thing where I've done every year from 1956 to 1996. I've done what I think are the 10 best top 40 hits of each year. And when I get to the 60s, my list is 60 songs long
Yes.
to find 10.
Yes.
And it's like 1965 to 1969. I'm like, it's impossible.
Yeah.
You know?
And then do you think about the 70s and the early 70s, 71, 72, 73, there's so many phenomenal records. Then you get and we already talked about the mid 70s records. Then you get to 78 with Van Halen and the Cars and Dire Straits and the Police and all these bands that were putting out their first records. All these incredibly important records that all happened when I was in 10th grade, and
yeah. Greatest Beatles song from each Beatle. Being such a Beatles fan, I had to ask that one.
I would say I'm the Walrus, John Lennon. Something, George Harrison.
Something in the way she woos me.
Hey Jude, McCartney.
Hey Jude, don't make it back.
Although I could name many McCartneys, I could name many of them. I'm just thinking like what I would put on and listen to. And then every time I see your face, that's a combination with Ringo and George Harrison. Photograph.
Yeah.
That song is
That's a great song.
great song.
In My Life is my favorite Beatles song of all time.
There are places.
I just, it played at my dad's funeral, and that's
That's one of the greatest songs ever written too.
yeah.
Everything about it, the guitar hook, starting from the guitar hook at the beginning, the lyrics,
Yeah.
the melody, stunning song. Unreal.
Yeah, I think that, it's funny because I've always considered myself to be a McCartney guy. Paul's my favorite Beatle. My dad was he was a fan of both Paul and John, probably equally, but I always would say I'm a Paul. But then somebody asked me for some article a few years ago, name your 10 Beatles songs. And my top 5 were all John Lennon songs. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm a Lennon guy. Because like all of them, every single one, I'm like, how can that be? Norwegian Wood, In My Life, Dear Prudence, I'm the Walrus.
Any of them. Oh my gosh.
I know. But even the early stuff is just so great. I love his vocal on Twist and Shout.
Oh yeah.
The story about how they had to do that whole album in one day, and his voice was shot, and he just so much. So being the big Beatles fan, Pet Sounds or Revolver?
Both.
That's the right answer, man. What is the last song that you hope to hear before your death?
Oh geez.
That is really
That's dark, Adam. My gosh.
dark, man.
That is dark.
No, if you could only listen to one song before you leave this world, what would that song be?
Last movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, Ode to Joy.
That's awesome. Can't beat that. Before we go, one of the things I want to point out is that you're a huge animal lover. Some people don't know that about you. Tell us about that.
We've always had animals here. We have 5 cats and 2 dogs. We rescued 8 cats just in the past 6 months. And we adopted 2 of them, and then the mother we had spayed, and we let her back outside. But although we have a house, we built her a house with a heated heated house that's elevated that she goes in, and we feed her out there. So she's kind of outdoors. She doesn't come inside, but so I love animals. I spend so much time with our animals. The 3 kids, my wife, we just love.
So I remember calling you, and you said, my family's out of town. I'm here by myself, and I've got to feed all the animals.
That was when we had 8 cats and 2 dogs at the time.
Wow,
Adam, that was a week of that. Oh my gosh. And it was 5 kittens. So you have the adult food, 3 adults, and then 5 kittens. You're feeding them different stuff, but then the dogs are breaking in and eating the cat food. It's just like, brother. It was
That's awesome.
far harder than making YouTube videos.